I think we're at a moment of challenge to move forward, to not be afraid, to not retract, but to move forward and continue in our discipleship, in a sense. What does it mean to keep following Jesus in the 21st century? And a call toward love, a call toward understanding and honoring God as the God of love and reconciliation and liberation, and in a call to be engaged in the needs of this world.
You seem to be suggesting that beliefs and organized religion are themselves part of the problem.
I am a big fan of beliefs. I think it's wonderful to study and explore the history of how our beliefs have evolved and developed over time. But it seems to me there's something deeper than beliefs that we're called to as Christians, and that is to actually walk the way of love, which is often a way of suffering. If we love, we care, and if we care, we suffer. And we have to grow in our virtue and courage. And as for organized religion, I'm a big fan of organized religion. I just hope we could get better organized for better purposes.
That might come as a relief to the Bishop Nick Baines of Leeds. I mean, this is a challenging book and challenging talks. Your presence here today, Bishop Nick, seems to be endorsing what Brian is saying, but how do you take what he's saying to the Church of England?
Well, I'm very happy to endorse what Brian's saying, because in this diocese, which we're only just creating, our vision statement is loving, living, learning. So we begin with loving God and loving neighbours, exactly what Brian was talking about, and loving your enemy. And that has to be communal and social, not just individual. It's not a private affair. The living is about how do you create human flourishing for our communities, because as Anglicans we're committed to territory, to the people who live in our communities. The learning is we've got to have a bit of humility about this. We learn as we go. We know we screw it up, and there's no point trying to pretend we don't. The evidence is there. But let's have the humility not to be an institution that dominates or domineers, but is trying to, as Brian says, be organised about the right things. So, there are many challenging things, and there are things I would challenge within the book, but some of the assumptions, for example. But I'm right on the same page in relation to what Brian's just said.
Brian, you're familiar with the Anglican Communion. You spoke at the Lambeth Conference in 2008. So from your perspective, where are we getting it wrong as the Church of England and as the Anglican Church?
Yes, well, I don't really have a critique in that regard. I think there are challenges. When I think of the challenges that a bishop faces, for example, in the amount of real estate that has to be kept up. I don't have an easy solution to that. I think there's many dimensions of that are beautiful and good, but I'm sure there are also dimensions that it's a challenge. The other night we were in this beautiful church in a major city here in the UK, and you just looked up and you saw plaster falling off the walls and ceiling because, this is an ancient building that has to be maintained. So I wouldn't call this a criticism at all. It's just a challenge. How can we fulfill those duties and not be so exhausted by that we have run out of energy before we get to our other tasks? One other way I could say it is that our calling ultimately is to people, and we have to continually remember that where the people are, that's where we have to go. And so this is the challenge for, I think, all of our Christian communities across the world.